want you to turn that on. Right there, flip that switch. Talk real quick.
Hello. Test. Test one.
He should be. He's on 2, right? Okay, he's on 1. All right. And it's good? Test, test, test. Alrighty. Yeah, I like these chairs better, but yeah. I'll catch you if you fall. You don't have to catch me. All right. So. This is the One-on-One Wrestling Show. I'm Nick Fornicoya. Stay tuned for a great show.
It all started when I was 6. I headed to my first weigh-in. I was so nervous that I got sick. Puked all over our conversion van. Back then I just wanted to throw the towel in.
Welcome to another episode of the One-on-One Wrestling Show. We're here with a live guest, C-Boss Swigum. Thanks for coming.
Hey.
that was that song there. You should go look it up. That's on YouTube. It's a wrestling guy. He wrestled for Iowa State. His name is Duke Eagley, and he just made this song, and I asked him for permission to use that, and so it's really cool. It's a country song, but he's talking about growing up and wrestling. It's a pretty cool song. We didn't listen to it all here. So thank Sebas for coming in. This is really special to me, and there's a reason why I wanted him to come in, and I don't know if he even remembers this incident, but I want to start and share this story about you. So 2 years ago, I'm coaching at Eastview High School, and we're getting set up for a wrestling match, a dual meet against Apple Valley High School. And coaches and athletes, what we have to do. We have to roll out the mats and get all ready. And so as a coach, we're rolling up the mat in the wrestling room, and I'm directing kids, and I'm like, hey, get this over here, and we're trying to get things ready. And I'm rolling up the mat, and I look down the mat, and I see this dark-haired kid, and I'm like, who is that kid? And I kind of look around. I'm like, do I not know everybody on my team? And so maybe I don't see him close enough. So I go and I look over, and I'm like, I recognize you, but I don't know from where. You're in street clothes, and so sure enough, I asked someone, who is that? And they go, oh, that's Sebas Swigum from Apple Valley, and who were wrestling that night. And so you would come over early, and really early, and started helping us roll up the mats. And you didn't just pitch in for a couple minutes. You pitched in for, half hour, 45 minutes, and to me, that I was just amazed about that. For you to do that, and it was just no big deal to you, and your teammates started trickling in, and they were just hanging out in the stands, and I remember having a conversation with your coach about that, and he just said, yeah, that's who you are, that's who he is, just a great kid. So do you remember that incident?
I do remember that, yes.
And is this something, why did you do that first off?
Well, I was hanging out with a friend beforehand, and I just decided to come over early, and I got there, and I've grown up in a family where you see somebody who needs help, you help them. Especially in the sport that we're involved in. The wrestling community is just one big family. So before, after matches, we're all just one big family. So I think that it's important to help each other out, and I was an extra body, and so I saw you guys rolling out the mat, and I was like, sure, why not help out, make myself useful.
Have you ever done anything like that before or after?
No, not with other teams. No, it was just this one incident where I was there early, and I figured, what else do I have to do right now, until weigh-in. So, and I know a lot of the guys on the team, and a lot of good guys, and it's good to see them, say hi, and just help out.
So, thanks for sharing that. I have actually shared this story with the teams that I've coached since, and as I'm talking about how we can, as an example of how you can be a person of good character, someone who's kind, caring, giving, yet still be tough on the mat. And so I think that was something I didn't really see a lot of growing up, and I always saw you had to be tough, and some of those guys were tough and mean and ornery on the mat, and tough and mean and ornery off the mat, and you kind of showed and a great example to others that that's not the way you have to be. And
yeah, I was, a lot of people know I was adopted from Colombia, and without my parents coming down and adopting me, I very well could be dead right now. So that's such a blessing in itself, that I think that it's super important to use that and make a difference in the world. I come from Colombia. I'm now here in the United States, and I think that a lot of people can benefit from that. You know, if I, you know, show class and, you know, I'm respectful to people, and, you know, a lot of people think that they have to be hardcore, you know, on and off the mat, but one person that, you know, I'll never forget was back in 8th grade. I got 4th at sections, and one of the wrestlers who beat me was Tai Okada from Eastridge, and just beat the snot out of me at 120. And after the match, he came over to me and he talked to me for a while, and, you know, it was kind of one of those things where I was like, you know, man, you just beat me. Like, you just whooped me to death, and why do you want to talk to me right now? But he was talking to me, and he was, you know, he was a really nice guy. And, you know, he was saying, man, you're going to be tough someday. Keep doing what you're doing. And, you know, I've remembered that ever since, because he was a great kid, nice kid off the mat. So I'd say he had an influence on me too.
That's great. That's a good story where you have, you know, someone made an impact on you, and so, you know, do you feel like you're doing that to sometimes when you're beating up on all these kids throughout the state?
Yeah, you know, I've talked to a lot of people, and, you know, I want to make a difference out in the wrestling community, and, you know, I've spent time talking to my teammates too, because, you know, after I'm gone, after my class is gone, after this generation is gone, there has to be another, you know, group of leaders and strong, respectful young men to, you know, lead their teams and, you know, lead in their communities.
So you've talked, you kind of hit on early about family, the wrestling community is a family, and your team is a family, and you talked about your family, and so, and leaving this legacy, and so it, you know, you seem to just have a bigger picture than just wrestling, and, you know, school is important to you, I imagine, and so what's your big picture? How do you see yourself in the world?
Well, you know, there's a lot more to life than just wrestling. You know, the way I've been taught, and, you know, how I try to hold myself is, you know, put faith first, then family, school, and then wrestling. Wrestling is 4th on the list, and I still believe that to this day, because, you know, wrestling is just wrestling. You know, it's one of the I guess areas of my life that identifies, you know, who I am. But, you know, I'm also a student, and, you know, I've held a 4.0 to this date, and part of that is because of wrestling. You know, when things get hard, you know, keep pushing through it. I don't believe at all that if I wasn't a wrestler that I wouldn't have a 4.0, because I also have a learning disability where I process 3 times slower than, you know, the average person. So, you know, I've had a lot of nights where I was like, this is stupid. I need to go to bed. I'm tired. This is dumb, and, you know, I just want to stop doing this. But, you know, being a wrestler, I believe that it's helped me push through those times and, I guess, succeed where I need to succeed. And then beyond being a student, I'm also a son, I'm a brother, you know, a family member, and, you know, I believe that's super important, because those are the people who are with you when, you know, going through every stage of life, and, you know, through all the ups and downs in wrestling and in school. So those people are very important. And then ultimately, God is, you know, totally just top of the list. He's amazing. He's the reason why we're here, and he's the reason why I'm here. You know, without him, you know, like I said before, I might be dead.
So you've kind of identified who you are. You know, you're saying you're all these things, and it's easy for a lot of people, and me, I get wrapped up in that as when, you know, as a coach, sometimes it can be so overwhelming. You want to be the best you can be, and 4.0 student, and overwhelming, and forgetting that, no, you're also a son, you're also a child of God, as you know, and so how do you stay grounded when you can become so? I mean, because wrestling could take up your whole mind and your whole existence, and how do you do that at such a young age?
Well, I just, you know, no matter what's going on, I keep my priorities straight. You know, obviously wrestling, it's really hard, you know, when you're cutting weight, you know, you're not feeling at your best, you know, you still find time to, you know, pray, devote your time to your family, devote your time to, you know, reading the Bible and, you know, talking to your teammates. Like I said before, wrestling it's just wrestling, you know. I guess staying grounded to who you are and just knowing that, you know, no matter what happens with you in wrestling or even what happens to you in school, you can still leave a legacy and be known as somebody who holds himself with class and is respectful to everybody.
That's a great perspective to have. It takes a lot of pressure off too when you're right. It's like your legacy isn't just wins and losses, because you're going to be in a really, really important match, and you have been in important matches. But if you put all your weight on that match, that's too much too much pressure, right? And so, but if you're talking, your success it's about who you are and what you do as a person, then you can walk on that mat with less stress, right?
Right.
Kyle Schneider, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's, you know, it's more important than wrestling. I mean, being who you are and what you can be, you know, being a respectful young man, that's what it will go farther in life than just being, you know, a multiple time state champion. But, you know, it would be great, it would be nice, you know, if I could go back and win more state championships. I mean, I would, it'd be nice, but I think, you know, part of being a good person is having failures behind your back too, and you know, it keeps you humble, and you know, it gives you that bigger picture perspective.
Yeah. So we do a lot of training as wrestlers, the body. You know, we're conditioning and lifting and, you know, the skill, technique, you know, training the body. And so, you know, there's kind of that three-pronged approach, though. There's the body, mind, and the spirit, right? And so you talked about how you're training your spirit and through your faith, right? And that to me is amazing, and that's something that I'm working on every day, and I think we all can. So how do you also train, like, your mind? Is that kind of as important to you too? I mean, is that part of your faith part too?
Well, it's part of my faith. You know, I devote my time. I have to, you know, be. Sorry, my phone's ringing. Should turn that off.
That's all right.
But yeah, that's part of my faith. You know, being, I guess, mental and mindful of yourself. You know, like they always say that wrestling is 80% mental and 80%, sorry, my math was wrong there, 80% mental, 20% physical.
Yeah.
And it's totally true. I mean, a lot of wrestling is mental. You got to push yourself.
And it could be even more than that too. I mean, who knows? It could be 90% mental. I mean, sometimes, right? I mean, it really is. Yeah.
And that's most of life too. I mean, if I were to become, you know, unable to walk, or if I were, you know, to have an incident, get injured, and not be able to walk again, you know, like I said before, I still have school, you know, and I make sure that I'm, you know, strong in my academics and also strong in my faith, and because those will last a lifetime. And if if something were to happen, you know, an injury or some sort of unfortunate incident, and I lose, you know, that school piece of things, and I lose wrestling, then, you know, I still have my faith, and that, you know, that will last a lifetime.
And that to me is just wonderful to hear, because so many times I see people talk about how sports build character and all that, and I don't always see that. That's not necessarily true if it's done the wrong way, and so. it can help build character if you learn to take care of all aspects of your life, and you know, the faith and the body and the mind part all together. I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier. I think you mentioned it twice about talking to your teammates, and that feels like that's an important thing to you. And tell me what that is and how that looks.
So, you know, people will come to me, ask questions. You know, I try to set an example for people, you know, especially the younger kids on the team, and I think that's super important. I remember when I was, you know, in the youth program and when I was in middle school, and, you know, some of the guys, they would come talk to me, the older guys, and one of the, I'd say, best leaders that we had on the team would be Brock Morgan. He was, you know, he was a Christian guy, and he was a good wrestler, and he was a smart kid, and he was somebody that I looked up to during middle school and high school. And he's off at Columbia University, and you know, we used to have Bible studies. He would talk to me. Mark would talk to me. You know, I think it's super important to be talking with your teammates. You know,
Mark Hall.
Yep. And you know, I still remember advice that they've given me back in 8th grade, 7th grade, and I think it's super important if you want to build a team and also build leaders for future generations.
So you're now talking to the underclassmen, as you.
You know, talking to them, trying to be a mentor to them throughout school. You know, helping them, trying to, I guess, give them a path. You know, like these are great places to go, good courses to take if you want to do this. These are great teachers to try to connect with, because, you know, they help you thoroughly along the way. And also, I guess, trying to be a mentor through life, you know, for them. Because, you know, I remember what it was like being young, and, you know, all this, you know, high school wrestling, it's like, whoa. But, you know, it's good to have somebody there talking to you and, you know, keeping you on the ground.
This is like, you know, he's taking being a captain really seriously. I mean, I don't even know if he's a captain. I'm guessing you're a captain. Yeah. And so this is what a captain does. I mean, you know, we've had lots and lots of captains throughout the years, and coaches and athletes. You've had captains, and that sometimes are just titles. And you're doing this, and because you feel it's important, not just because you're a captain, because you're pouring into these kids' lives, and you're pouring into the future of their future, and you get something back too. It's exhausting sometimes to pour into the people's lives, because you need to take care of yourself, but you're sacrificing that. But do you get something out of it as well?
Of course, yeah. I mean, like I said before, with the family piece of wrestling, I mean that's part of, you know, what I mean, and being in this wrestling community and being a family. And families, they help each other out. And families, they're there for, you know, brothers and sisters when they're going through hard times, and especially going through life. It's important to be there with for the people that you're trying to, you know, mentor.
Take note, folks. I mean, this is how you be a leader. It's not about titles. It's not about titles. It's about you know, what you do in action. And this is really good stuff. I want to ask you. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but, you know, tell me about your family then, outside of wrestling. Tell me a little bit more about them.
Well, yeah, that's a long story. So I have 3 siblings. Two of the three of them were adopted from Columbia, same as me. My oldest sister, she's 27, and she's the only biological child of my parents. And my other sister, who was, you know, next in the lineup, she kind of went down the wrong path in high school. She, you know, fell to drug and alcohol addiction, and, you know, I had times where, you know, it was the fights in the house, it was, you know, so loud that we had to go over to my neighbor's house because, you know, just the verbal fights that were happening were just, you know, too crazy. So, yeah, she moved out when she turned 18, and she was, you know, just unstable, you know, and she was adopted when she was 4, and so, and, you know, her mom, she went to work every day, worked hours and hours, and left her in a crib all day. So we don't really know what happened to her, but I mean, we tried getting her help. I mean, my parents spent, you know, tons of money for therapy and everything, but, you know, it just, you know, like I said before, losses happen, and you know, it's part of what makes you who you are. It's part of what makes us, you know, the family that we are. Is that, you know, we've been through that. You know, we're not really your average family, and you know, that brings me to my brother, who we found out had a severe developmental delay when we adopted him. And he's 21, but he functions at about a 3 or 4 year old level. And so, you know, he'll be living with, you know, one of us, with my parents until they die, and then, you know, he'll move on to either my sister or me. So he was predicted to never be able to walk, talk, you know, not even swallow, because he was so just delayed developmentally. And he's overcame, you know, all the predictions that doctors made, and just, he's a miracle in our family. And so, yeah, our family is very unique, but that's what makes us who we are.
So he's 21, and does he come watch you wrestle?
He does. He does. He is. He's my biggest fan.
I bet you that's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah. What's his name?
Alejandro.
Alejandro.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, that is. You said it. That's a. You know, anytime you talk about someone's family, it's like, oh, it's a long story, but I thank you for sharing that with you and with us, and it's, you know, again, sometimes we struggle with things. We have failures. We have difficulties, and so how does, you know, not just wrestling, but how does your faith help you get through that, through the hard times? You know, I mean, I remember when I first became a Christian, I thought, oh, all my struggles are over. You know, I thought that's what it was going to be, right? And that's really not the case.
That is not the case at all. Yeah. You know, a lot of people think, you know, like what you just said, you know, now I'm a Christian, now everything's going to be, you know, sunshine and rainbows, but, you know, it's really not. You know, oftentimes it gets even harder, because, you know, you become a Christian, you see things in a different point of view. You think, yeah, that's, you know, what I used to do, but now it's, you know, now I can't do that anymore. I can't live that lifestyle, and, you know, now as a Christian, I, you know, almost have a spotlight on me. You know, people are watching me. People, you know, if you want to bring people to Christ, you need to be an example for them, just like, you know, just for wrestling. And, you know, people are going to be watching you. You know, he says he's a Christian, but, you know, does he walk the talk? And, you know, that's very important. And so, yeah, life can get a lot harder, but, you know, in the same way, it can be a lot easier. Just recently, my grandma died, and we were pretty close to her, and she's the only grandma that I really got to know very well. But yeah, she was great, and, you know, one day my mom was, you know, she said, yeah, I haven't talked to her all day, and I talk to her every day, and, you know, I feel like something's wrong, and we found out that she died in her sleep. And for a lot of people who aren't believers, they have a harder time with death. But people who believe in God and believe in a heaven, they know that, you know, she is somewhere better. You know, it's sad that she's gone. She's not here with us anymore, but she is somewhere better. And it's more of a celebration of her life at a funeral instead of a, you know, a sadness that she's not with us anymore. I mean, obviously we still feel sad, but there's also joy in it too.
Absolutely. Yep. Just helps us get through those times knowing, you know, knowing the future and what we have in store and who's with us.
And a hard life, I mean, definitely. I mean, we've had 2 bouts of cancer go through our family in the last couple of years. You know, my mom herniated a disc in her back, and she had surgery, but you know, herniated it a second time right after the surgery, so I had to go into a second surgery within a week. And she's still not fully recovered yet, but she's a tough mother.
She's tough.
She is tough, and you know, with everything we've gone through ever since I devoted my life to Christ, yes, it's very difficult. But you know, being strong and firm in your foundation, it helps you get through those.
So your parents are the examples to you of being tough, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So this is amazing. We haven't talked wrestling yet. We haven't even talked about his wrestling yet, and that's amazing, right? I mean, I didn't pull you in here just to talk about wrestling. I pulled in because of who you are and your character and all these things, and I could talk to you for hours. But I'm going to let you go soon. But so this year, you have you placed first at the Rumble in the Red.
Correct.
At 145 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and you were second at the Minnesota Christmas Tourney at 145 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
right? 2 huge tournaments, and then recently you were first at East Ridge Ruckus,
Mm-hmm.
at 138 pounds, right?
Yep.
So you made that drop down to 138, and
Yep.
is that where you're staying?
Mm-hmm.
How's that feel?
I feel great.
Feel great.
Yeah.
You look great. It's not that big deal. That helped the team too. You get Brady down and in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good for all of us.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the next couple of weeks here as we finish up the season? How, you know, wrestling wise, you know.
Well, you know, I'm excited. It's senior season, and you know, I've been looking forward to it, and it's already here. You know, it's crazy. It feels like just yesterday that we were in Independence, Iowa, and you know, I was sitting next to Mark Hall and Brock Morgan. So, yeah, it goes by quick, and you know, you want to make every moment count. But I think you know, I'm excited for these next few weeks, and part of that is because I know the journey's not over. You know, I'll be wrestling for the next 5 years, so you know, this is just the end of a chapter, and so I think it'll be fun. I think that, you know, our team was working hard, and I'm excited to see, you know, what we do, and you know, no matter how it goes, I think that you know, just being together with the guys that I've been with, it's been, you know, a blessing in it all.
So you have committed to wrestling for the Minnesota Gophers.
Yes. Yeah.
You did that in September, right?
Yes.
Was that a difficult process or was it easy?
Well, I was looking, you know, really I didn't look at a ton of schools. You know, a lot of people said, you know, look at a lot of schools, apply to a ton of schools, but, you know, I really just looked at 4 schools, you know, North Dakota, Augsburg, Minnesota, and Columbia University. And, you know, I saw all of those schools, and, you know, all of them impressive, but, you know, the University of Minnesota, the coaching staff there, you know, I believe they're all Christians and very, I'd say, soft-spoken and just respectful of men. You know, the coaching staff there is just amazing. And, you know, the guys on the team, I know a lot of them because, you know, I've wrestled with them before, you know. A lot of good guys, and I've connected with a few of them. I've gone to church with a few of them, and yeah, just a great group of guys. And you know, they set you up for success, you know, going to the university. And you know, with all the resources that they have there, it's, you know, it was crazy. So, you know, my family loved it, I loved it, and yeah, I'm super excited.
That's great. Good for you. I'm excited for that, and we can watch it here still, and be pretty cool. Oh, hey, I think we might have a phone call here. Hang on a second. Let's see who this is. Hello. This is Coach Barlage. Hey, I'm gonna put you on a speaker, and we're gonna. I'm here actually interviewing Sebas right now, and we're recording it. Is that all right? No, this is absolutely perfect timing. All right, hang on a second here. Coach, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
So we're sitting here. I'm spent the last half an hour interviewing Sebas, and I just wanted to get your perspective. If you could give me a, you know, tell me about him. Not, you know, we spent 30 minutes and we didn't even talk about wrestling hardly. So tell me about him as a person.
You know, Sebas Swigum, he's a special kid. You know, when I think about him. He's extremely disciplined in everything he does. You know, whether it's his academics, his commitment to the sport of wrestling, and his nutrition, his strength training, his technique, and then his faith and his relationships with people. You know, he does things the right way, and you know, I think he's truly committed to excellence in all aspects of his life.
That's something that stuck out to me too. As he talked about a lot about talking to his teammates and how he makes that a priority to be a leader for the younger kids. And do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the way he carries himself in, you know, not only our wrestling room, but you know, in the hallways of our high school, you know, in the classrooms, during athletic competitions, and just out in the community. I think it, you know, it really shows you the quality of the type of character Sebas has.
So as coaches, you know, it's easy to get you know, caught up in wins and losses and trophies and things like that. But when you can coach a kid like Sebas, that's really what it's about, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, you always want your athletes to do well, but you know, when you see a kid that's doing all the right things, you really want him to do well. And you know, that's kind of how I feel for Sebas. Is like, I want all my athletes to do well, but you know, I really want Sebas to do well, because I've seen him since he's been a sixth grade just do everything we ask of him, and he never complains, and he always does the right thing. You know, I think in a day and an age where you see a lot of kids wanting to find the easy way out of difficult things, you know, Sebas Swigum is a complete opposite of that, and he always takes the harder path. So he's someone that you want to root for and see him do well.
Absolutely. Sebas, you want to say anything to your coach before we let him go?
Thanks for the nice words, Barlage.
Hey, thank you, man. Hey, I'm not saying anything I don't, you haven't, you know, earned. So I'm not just saying that. You know, I really feel that way. So, and obviously other people have noticed those things. You know, so you know, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, man, because it's you're making an impact on a lot of people, and that's really cool.
Absolutely. And if we look back on our life, you want to talk about, do I want to be known for trophies and wins or making an impact? That's what I want to be known for, making an impact, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thanks,
Absolutely.
Coach. Thanks for calling in,
yeah.
and that's all we need. So have a good night.
Hey, thank you, guys. Take care.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Well, you couldn't have asked for better timing on that one. That was fantastic. So
That was good. Yeah, that was,
yep. So you got your coach coming in, giving you the best accolades you could there, and I'm so proud of you. And you're a winner no matter what any rep says or any score says. And so I'm really thankful that you came in here. Do you want to add anything before we leave? You have anything you want to say?
no, I've pretty much hit everything on the dot. I told you about my family and some of the stuff that we've been through. That story could go on forever.
Yeah.
But I just one thing I would emphasize is staying true to yourself. Being respectful to people. That's one of the biggest key words that I try to emphasize to people, because respect, that word covers, it's kind of an umbrella word for a lot of different areas. If you respect other people, you respect adults. In the classrooms, you see all over the place now people being disrespectful to adults, and in the house that I grew up in, I'm like, oh my goodness, how can you even speak to an adult like that? That's just the disrespect. It's crazy. And so that's why I always tell people I can never be a teacher, because some of the words you get back as a teacher, that'd be tough.
Yeah.
So you be respectful to adults. You're respectful to other people, because the people that you're around, those are the people that you may be with the rest of your life. You may enter the workforce with those people. You'll be working with those people, and you want to establish a strong, firm foundation of who you are in the eyes of those people. And then also respecting yourself too. You don't want to do stupid things that will get yourself hurt, or putting a bad image on yourself. So just taking care of you, your body, your mental health, physical health, everything. That's all part of respecting yourself. So that's why respect is one of the main words that I try to live by.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So, good luck to you as we enter the postseason, getting up close to here, and we'll be rooting for you. We're gonna take a break here with. There's a video here from last year from Representative Lewis, who he got to speak at the U.S. House, and I don't know what was going on, but he ended up talking about wrestling at the U.S. House. So as we transition here, we'll take a look at that video. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Minnesota seek recognition?
I intend to seek unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute, revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Although Minnesota is known for hockey, I rise today to recognize the impressive high school wrestling programs in Minnesota's 2nd District. This season, Shakopee and Apple Valley continue their strong, outstanding records in wrestling. In fact, Apple Valley held 12 straight titles, state titles, until this year when Shakopee edged them out in the sectionals. And while Shakopee did not bring home the state title, wrestlers from both Apple Valley and Shakopee put up some extraordinary victories. Trey Rogers from Hastings finished his season with a perfect record. Shakopee's Alex Lloyd won his 3rd state championship, and Apple Valley's Gable Stevenson concluded his high school career with a winning percentage of .986, the best in state history. I am proud to have such driven student athletes in my district. Their dedication and hard work will continue to bring them success for years to come, and I look forward to seeing future victories from our 2nd District wrestlers. I yield back.
All right. So we're on the phone here with Neil Jennison, who is the Minnesota Wrestling Coaches Association president and the head coach at Cambridge Asante. Neil, how you doing?
I'm very good, Nick. How about you?
Oh, not bad, not bad. I know this is a busy time of year. You said you just got done with a Booster Club meeting.
Yeah, that's right. It just keeps coming.
You got meetings after meetings, and things to get done as the postseason winds up. How's your season going?
We're a decent team. We've had some ups and downs with injuries and whatnot, but we hope to put together a competitive team at the end and get a few individuals into the state tournament that got a shot at placing. So, I don't know. Not everyone gets to be first, but we'd like to be in the mix.
Yep, it's not everyone can be first, but we're trying to make improvements. Is what you try to do all year, right? Just get the kids to get better, and that's all you can ask for, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, like I say, not everyone gets to be at the top of the podium, but it's kind of the fight that matters, and try to instill that in kids. Is no matter what happens, you just always do your best and see how it turns out, right?
Absolutely. So, how many years have you been teaching and coaching?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Well, I started in 1986. Yeah, so whatever that turns out to be, something like 33 maybe?
33, that's amazing. So tell me about your family. It feels like education is a passion in your family. What are the roots of education in your family?
That's a great question. My mother, she taught like choir and lessons out in the country. We're on a farm, but she'd go to church and she'd be the choir director and all that kind of stuff. And so I think we all picked up on it a little bit from there, and so we have several brothers and a couple sisters involved in education. Everyone's all around it. Daughter Amanda is teaching in Alexandria, and my son Clayton's helping coach at Woodbury, and my son Matt has helped coach in a few different spots too. So I guess we all just kind of like helping kids.
That's great. That's amazing. Yeah. So you've got a lot of Jennisons in the education world, and so you take on extra responsibilities as the Minnesota Wrestling Coaches Association president. And tell me what that entails.
Well, I think the number one thing is to just provide leadership towards improvement within the organization and improving the sport of high school wrestling, I guess, is our mission. And so it's a pretty well organized piece of machinery, this Coaches Association is. The president's just part of it, but I'd say our executive secretary, Skip Link, is a big part of it. Keeps it going, and then you always have your president-elect, and we form what's called an advisory committee, and then we also have the section reps from each section come up with ideas for the team. So the section reps bring it to the advisory committee, and the president leads that meeting and that conversation.
So what are some of the movements that are happening, that you're kind of talking about and working on right now in the world of wrestling, especially in Minnesota wrestling?
Well, there's been several different things that have come up. One of the concerns that's coming into this year was that all schools are having a hard time fielding all of the weight classes. They're wondering if we could try something to make dual meets a little more competitive. So, some people tried it this year and dropped down to 12 weight classes for their duels. I think 106 and 195 are the two weights that weren't wrestled. So we put that forward as an experiment, and at the end of the season, we'll kind of see what people thought about it. That was one thing. We've also seen a lot of girls get involved in wrestling over the last 5 years, and they've been having to wrestle with the boys. So we've been working on a proposal that maybe help girls get started with maybe a little more of a foothold in the sport, maybe even potentially get their own programs and even have their own state tournament. So, that would be a goal down the road, too. One of the things I've been leaning on pretty hard is seeing if we can get back to a 3-day team tournament, or at least a team tournament, instead of getting all of the team wrestling done in one day. So that's been an initiative we've been working on. I don't know exactly where we're getting with it. We've got to find, I guess, the right format and with the right number of mats and all that at the same time. So we've been working on that. But I think number one, we'd all like to see is a true wrestle back for the individual. So that's been kind of in the works too. And then I'll have to kind of go through the high school league and do their own feasibility studies they go through to decide if they want to do it or not. But I guess those are some of the ideas that are out there right now.
So let's I'll start with the true wrestlebacks. Is that every time I've been involved, that was never an option. Is it feeling like there's a little bit more of an ear to listen to this?
Well, we've been bringing it up. I mean, that's the thing. You have to just keep it on the forefront. I think the biggest concern is with 3 classes, the state tournament schedule is already pretty crowded. And if you add that extra round of wrestling, you got to find another hour or so to do it somewhere. And so that's the biggest thing. And so we've been kind of looking at the different ideas. Could you lay 10 mats down on the XL floor? And well, you could, but sight lines are kind of tough. Then lately we've kind of looked at, well, would the Roy Wilkins be a possibility? And could we, for one day maybe have 4 mats laying down over there? So we're looking at that possibility, but we just really think it's important to try to do the sport the same way at the state tournaments that you've done it during the season, and nowhere during the season are you just one and done. So I guess, that's kind of the conversation, and I guess it's never dead till we just say it's dead, but we're going to keep trying.
I appreciate that, and it has gotten better where we've gone to seeding, and so you could before be the 3rd, 4th best kid, and then it wasn't seeded, and you could be one and done, and so at least that's better. But you're right. Why don't we run the state tournament like we run every other tournament as well? Do you have a feel for how many teams went to the 12 weight classes?
That's a great question. We kind of put feelers out there, but I don't know that we'll have a very good answer until the section tournaments happen and those section reps get to sit down with the coaches in their section. And I think that's when we'll have a better feel. But I think I just noticed a pretty significant one this past weekend. I saw St. Michael and Albert Lee wrestled in only 12 weights.
What?
And,
what?
Yeah, I don't know if you look at the guillotine results, you'll see that.
Oh my goodness. I wonder whose idea that was. Wow.
I don't know. I would guess maybe Albert Lee probably came up with that one, but I don't know for sure.
So, wow. That's what I was going to say. I bet you no AAA school has done that, or if they did propose it, I thought they would get kind of laughed at, but apparently not. Well,
it is the default. The way the bylaw was written this year was that the default is 12, and if people wanted it different than that, their conferences would say we're wrestling 14, which many conferences did, or people would put out on their schedule ahead of time that, hey, we're going to wrestle 14. But if they didn't agree on it, it would go to 12. So it's actually pretty easy to do. And I'm assuming, that was an agreement between St. Michael and Albert Lee, or one of the teams wanted it, and that's how it landed.
Yeah, or was it just they couldn't come to an agreement, so that's how it came about.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I had a chance to talk to Chad Shilson on our show last week, and he was talking about the girls wrestling and spearheading that movement. And I know you've kind of deferred to him a lot, but from your perspective as on the advisory and on the as on the president, where are we with that, and how close, and what needs to be done?
Well, the latest word I got was that a member school, so in other words, one of our high schools has to submit the proposal. It can't come from the outside, and so Chad put it forward initially, and he's got it on the forefront, which is important, and with his daughter Emily involved, I know he's passionate about it. And I had a very successful girl wrestler last year with Michaela Welch in our program. And so, we've all seen it. And I guess with Chad's proposal, it made everyone get thinking about it. But what has to happen next is a school needs to bring the proposal forward. Then from there, it would go out to the regions, and they get a chance to discuss it and vote on it, and then bring it forward to, I can't remember the name of the committee, but eventually lands on the board's desk where they can make a vote on it one way or another if it gets through the region. So that's what needs to happen. So a member school needs to pick up the ball on girls wrestling and submit the proposal to the high school league.
So a member school has to submit a proposal to the state high school league or to a committee or where?
To the high school league. And then from there, it would get pushed out to the regions.
Oh, okay.
And then the regions would bring it back to rep assembly was what I was trying to come up with. And they would review it, and then finally it would go back to the board if it got approved all the way up.
I thought they had, I thought Will Short had done that, and some other AD had, but maybe they went to the rep assembly and not to the state high school league first, right?
Yeah, those are questions that probably need to be cleared up, but the bottom line is the school needs to bring the proposal to the high school league, and it can go from there.
All right. So, and those are some pretty big issues that are going on, and I know I've been in some of those meetings, and they're hard to figure out which issues to move forward, and we have such a diverse population when you talk about your A schools to your AAA schools, and so I really like that you guys are thinking outside the box and trying to, all right, what can we do for the A school? What can we do for the AAA school? Like that 12 weight class thing, giving you that option.
Right.
And I think, it's slow going, and I think Chad is frustrated that the girls program hasn't moved forward faster, but I really think that girls wrestling can help grow and save wrestling. Right? And I think at the high school level too, it can eliminate some of those awkward issues as well. And but I think I'm excited to see that. And maybe it took me a while to come around, but I'm excited to see if us build something with the girls program. I think there's like 15 states now that have sanctioned wrestling at the state level.
Well, there's no question that girls can love the sport of wrestling. I teach Phi Ed at our high school, and I do a little introduction unit to the sport of wrestling to all of my 9th grade Phi Ed classes. And we just let them learn a few skills and then let them spar with one of their friends, girls against girls, boys against boys. And it's just a blast. They have so much fun with it. And you can see a lot of them have that, what would you call it, the grit that it would take to be a good wrestler. And you can see when they get into it, they're having a blast. So it's like, why not? But I can tell you for sure, after coaching Michaela Welch for 4 years, it's really not a fair fight to have girls taking on boys. It just doesn't go well when they don't have the same muscle mass. And so technically they may be superior, but physically they can't match up. And it never ends up being a fair fight, and it's not as much fun. But so all the girls that have found a way to gut that out, like Emily is doing right now, and all the other girls around the state, my hat's off to them. And all I can say is be patient, and hopefully we can keep pushing forward and get a girls wrestling sport, kind of, I guess, going formally. That would be the goal.
Yeah, thanks for your leadership on that and helping push that forward. I heard you say you teach Phi Ed and you do a wrestling introductory unit. How amazing is that? I bet you every coach out there would love to do that. So that's got to be pretty cool. You do a unit on wrestling, and do you ever get anyone to come out because of that?
Oh, I think, yeah, every once in a while. In wrestling, it's, you have to be a total salesman, and you have to go from so many different angles because it's a tough sport and it's a hard sell. But there's some of those kids that are naturally drawn to it, and we find some in Phi-Ed class, and we find some on the football field, and we find some in the hallways. And of course, your youth wrestling program has to be the main contributor, but you can't count solely on that. It has to be all of the above.
Absolutely. You know, Neil, before I let you go, I think one of your demeanor, your calm, soothing voice, your demeanor, I can just tell you're a great educator. You're a great coach. I've always loved listening to you. You know, I've been in leadership meetings with you, and I think you just do some amazing things. And so, good luck to you the rest of the season, and thanks for your leadership. Anything else you'd like to say before we let you go?
Oh no, Nick, I really appreciate the compliment, and you know, I guess it's an honor to serve as president of the Coaches Association, and I would just encourage everybody to be involved and keep pushing forward the issues that we're all passionate about, because it takes everybody. It can't just be a few people, and I think when we get representation from the small schools like you're mentioning and all state Minnesota, I think we do what serves the sport the best for all Minnesota wrestling teams and schools.
You bet. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Neil, and good luck as we head into the final weeks of the season, and we'll see you at the state tournament.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Take care, Neil. Bye.
Bye.
So, there's our show. Thanks to Neil for coming in. I really, you know, it's tough to be on the leadership board, and there's, you know, some people aren't happy, and there's so many things you got to figure out what to do. What do we stand up for? And so, thanks to all those people that are on the advisory boards and serving as presidents. And thank to him for taking the time out for that. So, before we go, I'd like to do a shout out to our sponsor, Brown Box Tees. So more than ink on a shirt, Brown Box Tees, they do screen printing of anything, and they can deliver it, ship it anywhere you like. It's a wrestling company, and so brownboxtees.com. They do all of the work that all the shirts that I ever get at our schools, and they love supporting wrestling. And so you'll see and hear more about our sponsor, Brown Box Tees. Again, thanks to Sebas Swigum for coming in, just an inspirational message, and for Coach Barledge for calling in here. We've got John Singer, our one-man producer, producing this whole show. Couldn't have done it without you, John, and to your brother, thanks for not coming in. And we're going to leave you again with our song called Talking About Wrestling. This is a song from Duke Eagley, and he gave us permission to use this. It's where I got the name of the show, Wrestling One-on-One, the One-on-One Wrestling Show. And I wanted to name it Talking About Wrestling, but there's too many like WWE wrestling shows about that. But wrestling is a one-on-one sport, and we do lots of one-on-one talking here, so that's the name. That's it for this week. If you have any ideas for next week, please email at oneononewrestlingshow@gmail.com and share this with friends. Thanks a lot. Take care.
There was no better feeling than going to state. It sure made it worth cutting all that weight. We worked and prayed and drank for that day to come. We'd be standing on the top of that it's one-on-one, man against man, living for the ref to raise your hand. And it's hard work and lessons learned. It's not something that's given, it's something that's earned. There's a reason people tell us we're insane, and that's 'cause what we do sure as hell ain't no game. I'm talking about wrestling. Can't begin to tell you all the friends I've made, formed lifelong bonds that'll never break. There's just something about running out into that gym. It's me against him, but it's us against them. They're more than just my teammates, they're my brothers. You mess with one, you better be ready for the others. And it's a one-on-one, man against man, living for the rest to raise your hand. And it's hard work and lessons learned, not something that's given, it's something that's earned. This ain't something I expect you to understand, unless you've told that line and heard the words shake hands. There's a